Hello, welcome back to episode 3 of the Figaro. This is the Figaro's butt.
So today we're going to be removing the bumpers, which need replacing anyway, and we're going to make a start on the welding, which could go one of two ways.
So we're going to start off with the obvious cutting. I'm already filthy because we've been doing work on one of the restorations today. Ash has changed, he's just better organised than I am. So we're going to cut into the Figaro today. We're going to see how bad it is.
Yeah.
And then
it doesn't look too bad from the outside, but that never really means anything.
So we'll get stuck into it. We will get an idea of the full extent of the damage.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to sort out a plan of fixing it.
Yeah, sweet. So we're going to crack on with getting the bumpers off first, get them out of the way, and then we can get a full view of everything underneath. Cool. So we have got the bumper off, and it's very, very rusty.
Yeah, it's in some ways better than we thought, in some ways worse, because on the driver's corner, it doesn't look as bad on the outside. It looks like that could be usable, but on the inside it's pretty toast. That's all just peeled away, and that's all. It wouldn't take long for that to go through to the other side. All along the middle bar, which we did think was pretty bad, to be fair.
Yeah.
So that is gone as we thought, and then obviously the passenger side is just disintegrated.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to replace all 3 sections on the back.
Yeah.
For sure. So we'll go shopping.
Yeah.
And then
We also had to cut most of the bolts off with the angle grinder because you can see the state of them at the back there. There is meant to be a nut there. So yeah, bumper and bolts.
Yeah.
We're gonna just quickly whip the boot lid off.
Yes, so that we can better access that section of the seal for the boot. Has a section of the lip that it mounts onto that has rusted away as well, which we'll need to rebuild. So we're going to whip the boot off now so that we can access that, and then we'll have a look at how we can get about that. As you can see, we've got the boot off now, and this is the section in question. So you can just see this lip is absolutely toast. So the seal mounts onto this inner lip here, which there's also a big section missing of, and it was just dropping that seal away, so it would end up letting more water ingress into the boot. So we basically need to rebuild this whole strip. Thankfully it is one separate piece from the main body, so we just have a series of spot welds to drill out, and then we can basically bring that section away and then just get a band of metal, really.
Yeah, and then obviously we'll have to assess how bad the section is behind it, because we might have to, well, I think we're going to probably have to replace that, but it is just a flat piece of metal, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
It does feel a bit crusty.
Yeah, so we'll probably take this outer section off, rebuild the inner lip, and then try and make this as one big band across there so that we can,
Yeah, we've also whipped out the spare wheel just to have a bit of an assessment inside the car. There's a couple little bits of surface rust, but thankfully it seems like it is very superficial.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of cleaning inside the boot, thankfully. So that's played in our favour at least.
Yeah.
So these mounts that that rear chrome bumper mounts onto, we'll drop these off, give them a scrub off and repaint them, just to future-proof them a bit and hopefully stop them seizing on again.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll just smash this together and try and get one piece done today. See if we can weld all this back up on today. And
that would be nice.
Yeah.
always cut with the angle grinder the right way around usually.
I'm left-handed, so life is difficult for me. I love it. Okay, so we have our strip. It's always good practice to give yourself a little bit of extra metal, which is why we went for 23 inches. Don't need exactly 23 inches, but you can see just when you put it in place, we've just got that couple of mil overlap because it's much better, as Ash has previously said, to have too much than too little.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can now mark exactly on that piece of metal where we need it to finish.
Yeah. Because one thing is, like you can see there, we've not cut the line completely straight. So sometimes when you measure 23, you'll have like a big corner with a gap or something.
Yeah.
We've not cut the line straight.
Yeah, so it's 23 at the exact point where you measure it, but it's not always 23 in the gap.
Yeah. So what we need to do now is just mark where this back panel is going to meet, and then we need to drill some spot welds into this panel.
Yep.
And then once the spot welds are in, flip the panel over and put some weld through primer on the back of it so that it doesn't rot from the inside out.
We could also do with probably straightening up this top cut as well, because as you can see, if you put it there and put it hard up on the metal, we've got that down perfect. So we want it to be straight as possible.
Cool. Good then?
Yeah.
So we have got a nice straight line to work through on the top now. We just need to mark where this one's trimming off, which is about there, I would say.
What we could do is if we spot weld from left over to the right, and then when there's still a bit of play left, if there is any overlap there, we could just cut that off the end.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Cool beans. 7 centimetres along, just over 1.5 down. 7 centimetres along, just over 1.5. 15. Again, because I'm left-handed, all the tape measures are always upside down for me. We'll go a little bit further down.
Get it.
So 2 centimetres. Do a better job than Nissan did in the factory. So now that we have a nice line of our spot weld points, what we're going to do is just drill the holes through them, so that when we then place the plate against the car, you'll be able to see that backing line that we can then spot weld on. Okay, so while I have been cutting holes in the new bar, Ash has scrubbed off all the crap from the body side as well.
Yeah, so basically where you're welding onto, you want nice clean metal. So I've taken it right back to bare metal, and that'll just give us a nice clean weld. So that is going on that way. Obviously, once we've welded it on, we can't paint it from the inside. So what we use is this weld through primer, and basically you can spray this on and weld the spot welds, and it doesn't melt the primer. You basically get some form of protection from inside. So we're just going to spray the inside of this and then leave it to dry for a little while. It doesn't really have to be neat, it's just to give it some kind of protection from the inside. Cool, that'll do. So we've got it all clamped in place with the mold grips. I've just tacked it on in a few places. I'm going to weld the outside around first. So I'll do one big line right around the outside, and then I'm going to clamp it nice and tight against that back clip, and we'll do the spot welds because it basically wants to be touching for it to spot weld properly.
So the method Ash has used here to close up a bit of a gap just between the two panels was basically add a small piece of metal into the gap.
Yeah, so it's not the best way to do it, but it's better than trying to fill the gap full of welds. So basically what happened when I ground the end of that off, I ground it on a little bit of an angle, so it opened up the gap a little bit, so we've just put like a slither or an offcut of metal in between there, just so that when you're welding it doesn't blow big holes out everywhere.
Just fills the gap
it's
nicely.
Just in case you make a mistake, and it means you don't have to remake the whole panel just for like 2 mil gap. So yeah, that is pretty much all done. Just weld this top section now, and then that panel is on, and then we just need to test that the boot shuts.
Yeah. So as long as the seal fits on it, the rubber seal.
Yeah.
As long as that goes on, then we're good, really.
Yeah. Yeah. In theory.
In theory.
Yeah, we were just trying to get the boot shut flush, and it was all a bit wonky. So I have adjusted this catch and sent it further in, basically to hold the boot in tighter. And I've ground a little bit more off the lip just to bring it a bit tighter in. And the boot does shut nice and flush. So we're all right on that side, all right on that side. So that is all lined up and perfect. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to grind all these welds back on this back panel, get it all nice and smooth, and then we can put a layer of primer on it, and we'll leave it at that stage until we get some cans of paint to finish it off entirely. So that is all the welds ground back. I'm just gonna put some etch primer on this now. The reason you use etch primer is because when you're spraying onto bare metal, it prevents the rust from coming back through. So we'll get the etch primer on, leave it to dry for a little bit, and then I will finish putting all the boot back together, and then that is the back welding done on the car.
Later.
So we're back. Duncan has recovered from his snot disease after giving it to me and debilitating me for a week.
I was gross and pooed myself, and then I gave it to you, and you had snot and throat, and
it was.
At least you didn't poo yourself.
It was really, really bad.
Yeah. But throughout all of that, we've battled through getting over this. We've changed outfit about 3 times because we've been back up and down 3 times.
Yeah.
But the rear section is finally finished. It looks like a different colour. I really hope that changes.
It looks like a different colour because it is a different colour.
Yeah. So we're telling ourselves it's going to dry into the correct.
We got the right paint code.
Yeah.
But for some reason it's come out less of a paint match than the primer did. So we may end up painting it with primer again.
Yes. But Ash has done a wicked job. Ash did do the majority of this piece. I did a bit of cutting and bashing, but for all the shaping of that top lip where the seal goes on, Ash has done the vast majority of that and has done a really wicked job. So the boot does close flush. It looks how it's supposed to. So that is one of the more major jobs on the Figaro finished.
And like we mentioned earlier, anytime you weld anything, it always turns into like 3 times the size. Because we did think that we only had like an inch or 2 of rust to repair, and we ended up having to replace this whole back piece. So. And
another thing not to beat yourself up about, which I always do, is you can replicate the original piece to within a millimetre. And you put it back up next to the car and it will not fit.
Yeah.
So it's always, you're gonna always fabricate it.
Yeah.
Because it'll never match up even if you completely replicate the original piece.
Yeah. So that is
episode 3.
Episode 3 of the Figaro. We will return in a week or 2.
A week or 2, yeah.
Yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. We're really looking forward to getting this car finished.
Yes. And we are starting to devise a plan of what we will do with the car once it's done.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we have the open name competition. So hopefully within the first couple of episodes, we will have got some submissions for us to choose from. And by the time you have seen those, we'll be able to pick a name.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. So it does
actually when it shuts. Try again. Sorry, there. No, it's not shutting at all now.
Fuck's sake.
It would just hurt my ears driving with it at that level the entire time. Anyway,